My mother fell on the floor because of shoes. Not money, not sickness. Shoes. I still see it clear. Her wrapper slipped, her knees hit the ground hard, her mouth opened wide like someone who just saw death. The shoes dropped from my hand. Old brown men's shoes, cracked, smelling like dust and time. Before I could ask what happened, she started crying. Loud, deep, crying that comes from the chest, crying that scares neighbors. That was the day I knew something was very wrong in this house. But let me go back small. My name is Ada. I came back home because people said my mother was not strong again. They said she forgets things. They said she talks to herself. They said she wakes up too early and cleans when there's nothing to clean. I left my work in Lagos and came to this old house in Enugu where time does not move. Every morning, my mother wakes before the sun. She does not greet anybody. She does not eat first. She goes straight under the dining table. There, she brings out the shoes. One old pair, men's shoes. She cleans them slowly like they are a baby. She wipes the top. She wipes the sole. She even cleans inside like someone will wear them. After that, she puts them back under the table, straight, neat, facing outside. The first day I saw it, I thought maybe she was mad small. The second day, I watched properly. The third day, I got angry. This house has many old things. Old chairs nobody sits on. Old pictures with people I do not know again. Old smell. Old silence. The shoes were the worst. Every time I see them, my chest tightens. They remind me of waiting, of evenings when nothing happens. So that afternoon, when my mother went to sleep, I carried the shoes. I told myself I was helping her. I told myself all things must go. I told myself we cannot live like this. I was walking to the dustbin when I heard a sound behind me. Not a shout, not a word, just a sharp breath like someone was stabbed. I turned. My mother was standing. Her eyes were on the shoes. Her face changed. She took one step forward and fell. That was the beginning of the trouble. As neighbors gathered and water was poured on her face, she held my leg and cried like a child. She said, "Why do you want to remove him from the house? Why do you want to kill him again?" I did not understand. That night, as she slept with tired eyes, I sat on the chair and looked under the table. The space was empty because the shoes were now beside her bed. The house felt strange without them there. I did not know then that those shoes were not just shoes. They were a wound that never closed. They were the reason my mother stopped living and started waiting. And I was about to open a story I was not ready to hear. I did not sleep well that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother falling. I heard the sound her knees made on the floor. I smelled the old shoes again. Morning met me sitting on the edge of the bed, tired and angry at the same time. When I came out, my mother was already awake. She sat on the floor, back against the wall, the shoes in front of her. She was not cleaning them. She was just looking at them like they would talk back to her. I greeted her. She did not answer. I wanted to shout. I wanted to ask her why shoes were more important than her own body. I wanted to tell her she scared me, but something held my mouth. The way she looked small on that floor made me quiet. Later that morning, I went to the kitchen and met our neighbor, Auntie Ifunanya. She came with bread and tea. She looked at me with pity, the kind of pity that annoys me. She asked if my mother told me yet. Told me what? She shook her head and said nothing. She said my mother has been like this for many years. She said nobody touches those shoes. She said they have tried before. That made my anger grow. After breakfast, I followed my mother around the house. I watched her movements. She moved slow, careful, like someone walking on glass. Every few minutes, Her eyes went to the dining table. Even when the shoes were under it, she checked like they might disappear. By afternoon, I could not hold it again. I asked her why those shoes were under the table. She said they belonged there. I asked who owned them. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her face tightened. She stood up and walked away. That was when I remembered my father. Or better, the little I remembered. I remembered him as a tall man who did not talk much. I remembered his back more than his face. I remembered evenings when he came home late and ate without saying much. I remembered my mother serving him food quietly. I remembered the sound of shoes hitting the floor under the table. Then one day, he stopped coming home. I was young. People said he traveled. People said he would return. After some time, people stopped talking about him. Life continued. School, work, Lagos. But my mother did not continue. That evening, I tried again. I told her we cannot live with ghosts. I told her she needs to rest. I told her shoes do not breathe. That was when she finally spoke. She said those shoes came back to her when nothing else did. She said when they knocked on the door that night, she was already dead inside. She said she buried what they gave her and kept what she could hold. I asked her what she meant. She started shaking. She said some people leave and some people disappear. She said when a body does not return whole, the heart refuses to accept truth. I felt cold. For the first time, I understood that my father did not just die. He was taken away from us slowly. And those shoes were the only proof my mother had that he was ever real. I went to bed with a heavy chest. I knew then that throwing those shoes away was not cleaning. It was war. The fight came the next day. It did not start loud. It started small, like fire under ash. I was sweeping the sitting room when I noticed my mother had moved the shoes again. They were no longer just under the dining table. She pushed them out small so they could be seen clearly. Anybody that entered the house would see them first. Something snapped inside me. I asked her why she moved them. She said the house needs to breathe. I asked how shoes help a house breathe. She did not answer. She bent and adjusted them again, making sure they were straight. That small action made me more angry than shouting would have done. I told her she is sick. She stood up slowly and looked at me. I told her she lives in the past. I told her she is wasting her life cleaning what is already dead. I told her that people laugh at this house. I told her that I am tired of coming home and feeling like I walked into a grave. Her face changed. She asked me if I think she enjoys living like this. I said yes. That was when the shouting started. She asked me what I know about loss. She asked me what it means to sleep beside someone for years and wake up alone. She asked me what it feels like to wait every evening and hear nothing but silence. I told her she should have moved on. I told her other women remarry, other women travel, other women laugh again. I told her my father was not even that kind. I told her he was hardly there. The moment those words left my mouth, I knew I had crossed the line. Her hand shook. She said my father removed his shoes under that table every night, no matter how tired he was. She said even when they fought, he still did it. She said that was his way of saying, I am home, I am safe. She said the day he did not remove his shoes, her heart knew something was wrong. She said when they told her he died, they did not bring him home. They brought blood, they brought stories, they brought fear, they brought silence. She said she waited for his footsteps for years. I tried to talk, but my mouth refused to open. She asked me a question that broke me. She asked me, when I left this house for Lagos, did I think about who stayed behind? I remembered myself packing my bag. I remembered not looking back. I remembered freedom. I had no answer. She said everyone moved on and left her with a house full of echoes. She said the shoes helped her remember that she once belonged to someone and someone belonged to her. She said one day I will understand. That hurt more than the shouting. That night I could not eat. I sat at the dining table alone. My eyes stayed on the shoes. For the first time, I imagined my father sitting opposite me, quiet, tired, removing his shoes slowly. The house was not just old, it was lonely. And for the first time since I returned, I felt afraid. Not of my mother, but of becoming her. Something changed in me after that night. I stopped rushing around the house like a stranger. I started noticing small things. The crack on the wall near the dining table, the chair my father always sat on, the way my mother never sat with her back to the door. That morning, I woke up before her. The shoes were still under the table. I stared at them for a long time. I wanted to hit them, but I could not. They looked tired, like they had walked too far and never returned. When my mother came out, she looked surprised to see me awake. She went straight to the table, as usual. She knelt down slowly. Her knees made a soft sound on the floor. She started cleaning. Her hands shook, not from fear, from age. Without thinking, I knelt beside her. She stopped. She looked at me like she was not sure I was real. I took the cloth from her hand and wiped the shoes gently. The leather felt rough, dry. I imagined rain, dust, long roads. I imagined my father wearing them, walking into places he never came back from. My mother did not cry. She just watched. We stayed like that for a long time. No words, just two women on the floor, touching the same pain from different sides. Later that day, my mother talked more. She told me about the last morning she saw my father. He was in a hurry. He did not eat. He wore those shoes. She said she was angry with him and did not say goodbye. She said that silence has punished her every day since then. She said the police came at night. She said neighbors filled the house. She said everybody cried and left. She said only the shoes remained. She said she tried to put them in the room, but it felt like death was too close. She said the dining table was where life happened, where people ate, where voices were loud, where she could pretend he was still part of it. I asked her why she never told me all this. She said I was too young. Then I became too busy. Then I became too far. Those words entered me like stones. In the evening, I went out and met Auntie Funaya again. She told me how my mother refused to cry in public. She told me how my mother cleaned the house the night my father died, like nothing happened. She told me how the shoes were the only time she broke. When I returned, my mother was sitting alone at the table. She was not looking under it. She was just sitting. That scared me. I asked her if she was okay. She said she is tired. That night, I lay awake thinking. I thought about how grief hides, how it finds small places to live, how it turns ordinary things into lifelines. I understood then that the shoes were not keeping my mother in the past. They were keeping her alive. But I also knew something else. If nothing changed, those shoes would one day be the only thing left of her too. And that fear sat on my chest till morning. The decision did not come loud. It came quietly, like morning light entering a dark room. My mother fell sick 2 days later. Not sudden, just weak. She slept more. She ate less. She did not clean the shoes that morning. When I saw them still dusty under the table, fear grabbed me hard. I touched her forehead. It was warm. Her eyes opened slowly. She asked me if the shoes were safe. I said yes. She slept again. I sat on the floor and stared at them. For the first time since I returned home, I saw how small they were, how light, how strange that something so small could carry so much pain. That afternoon, while she slept, I moved the shoes. Not to the bin. I cleaned a small wooden shelf near the dining area. I placed a clean white cloth on it. I lifted the shoes gently and placed them side by side, straight, facing forward. When my mother woke, she noticed immediately. Her eyes widened. Her hand shook. She tried to get up, but I held her gently. I told her the shoes are still in the house. I told her they are not under the table anymore. I told her nobody is taking them away. She stared at the shelf for a long time. Tears rolled down her face quietly. She said the table feels empty. I told her it is okay for things to change shape. I told her love does not disappear because location changed. I told her I am here. That was the first time she held my hand tightly since I came back. Days passed. She got stronger little by little. She started eating more. She still looked at the shelf often. Sometimes she talked to the shoes in her mind. Sometimes she just nodded at them, like greeting someone she knows. One evening, we sat at the dining table together. No shoes under it. The silence came, but it was not heavy. She asked me about my work. She asked me about my life. She listened, really listened. I told her I was scared of becoming alone like her. She said loneliness is not always about people leaving. Sometimes it is about refusing to let new people sit with you. That night, she laughed small at something on the radio. The sound shocked me. Weeks later, I prepared to return to Lagos. Packing my bag felt different this time. I was not running away. I was stepping forward. Before I left, I stood in front of the shelf. I greeted my father quietly. My mother stood beside me. She said, "He knows." When I walked out of the house, I looked back once. Through the window, I saw my mother sitting at the table, eating alone, but not lonely. The chair opposite her was empty, but the house was finally breathing.